Hey guys, this is Jeff with Expedition Essentials, and today we're going to show you how to install the 3T PAM for the 3rd Gen Tacoma. First thing we're going to do is take our base plate, which has 5 holes in it, and we're going to place it on top of the dash bezel in the recessed pocket, and we're going to mark our holes, and you're going to want to do that in the center of each hole with the Sharpie. Also mark the notched portion off. That's where your wiring is going to pass through. Alright, so the next step after you've marked your holes, pull this back out, and we're going to remove this radial bezel. That's done simply by pulling to overcome the plastic clips. And remove it completely. We're going to take it to the bench for drilling. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to drill out the marked holes with a 3/16 drill bit. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is after you've already drilled your holes, is we're going to slot out the slotted portions of the bezel where you marked the holes. You can go ahead and slot this out completely for the brackets. It helps it when you do the final install. Also, the notched portion for the wiring pass through, we can go ahead and Dremel that out as well. Just like that. Alright, so next step, after you drill the holes and slotted, we're going to install the base plate onto your radial bezel using these 2 countersunk holes here and these countersunk screws, the short ones. That's the 8/32, not the 10/32 ones. We'll use those later. And these silver washers and nylock nuts. Next thing we're going to do is install the middle bracket, which is the wider of the 2 brackets that look similar. They're like a little Z. It's the wider one, and it goes in the middle facing this way, and you're going to use this 3/4 inch 8/32 screw through, and silver washer and nylock nut. You don't want to get it super tight, you just want to get it snug. Because this hole is slotted, you're going to need to adjust it to line your top mount up. So you want to leave a little wiggle room in there. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to show you is how to wire up your USB outlet. And it's really not that bad. There's an easy way to access. What we're going to do is tap into the back of the cigarette lighter here. So the first step is you're going to feel down to the curve. There's a 10mm bolt right here at the edge of this panel, and we're going to pull this bolt out. That's the first step. And then you're just going to pull the right side of this panel out, and it's just held down with plastic clips. Just like that. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to pop this panel out right here. And the reason why we're doing this is so we can access the back of the cigarette lighter, and removing this just makes it easier. You will notice that it comes out as one piece. You don't have to remove this gray piece that wants to come out separately. The whole panel comes out, and you can see the reason why we pulled this out, because it has a lip right here that will prevent you from removing this if you don't remove this first. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pop this USB outlet forward. Reach your hand back here and push it forward. And the reason why you're doing that is you're just making room for the wiring connector for your cigarette lighter, because you're going to feed it out this hole. so you have room to tap into it. And go ahead and take the connector off the back of your cigarette lighter and put it through this hole. Just like that. So you have access to tap into the wiring. Alright, so you're going to take your supplied harness that comes with your dash mount, and we're going to route it behind the plastics here. So you want to go around the side of the radio. Coming out behind it, just like this, and run this end of the harness behind and out the hole for your USB outlet where you have your little connector sticking out of right now for your cigarette lighter. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to tap into the back of the connector using these supplied posi taps, and these are pretty easy to use. You unthread the black end, which has two little ears on it, and you're going to put this over the wire for your electrical connector for your cigarette lighter, and the purple is positive on this one and the white and black one is negative. And to tap into it, all you're doing, taking the black end and threading this end back over, which has a needle that punctures the wire. Once that's tight, take your other end of your wire, which in this case is red for positive, to the purple wire, and you're going to loosen up this end. You don't have to remove it all the way. And take the end that you're going to need to strip back for about 1/4 inch. Feather it out a little bit and put it in the hole. Kind of use some pressure and then tighten this back up, which creates a connection. Really simple to use. And we'll do the same thing for your ground. And go ahead and put the wires back through the hole and reconnect your cigarette lighter connector. Same we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead. You already have your cigarette lighter reconnected. We're gonna go ahead and test out that USB outlet that you just wired up. So we're going to temporarily connect the red and black wire. Just do it loosely because these are very good connectors. They don't like to come back off when you fully engage them. And go ahead and test that outlet. We're using a little USB tester, but you can use your phone or whatever else you're plugging into it. And there's the upper one. And there's the low one, so that's good to go. You can move on to the next step. You have your USB outlet wired up. You can go ahead and start reinstalling this stuff here. Push the USB charger, the factory USB charger back in. And make sure you have enough slack on that harness. Reinstall this. Alright, next up we're gonna install our two radio inner support brackets, and those connect to the two upper 10mm bolts for your radio. Alright, next up we're going to take our radio bezel with the installed base plate, and we're going to install in here. Make sure you route your harness, you tuck it in here so it doesn't interfere with these plastic clips here. and route it up and into this notch here that you've already made. Push the clips fully in place. Harness looks good. And we're going to check these holes here to make sure that they're lined up with the inner support brackets. And you can do that with an awl or by looking into the hole. But I'm just going to get a feel for it. Got proper. Feel the threads there. And there, everything looks good. We're going to move on to the next step, which is installing these two, the left inner support bracket and the right inner support bracket for the mount. Alright, so next thing we're doing is we're installing these inner support brackets using the 1-inch long screw, 8/32 with the flat washer. And you're just going to want to start these by hand initially. Got them down, get them started. Don't tighten them up all the way yet, because we will need to do some adjustments to make sure everything lines up before we finalize the install. And your right one. And place your top mount into place. Now we're going to go ahead and temporarily install these countersunk 10/32 screws that hold it to the inner support brackets. Just start them by hand. To use an awl or a scribe to line them up, now is the time to do that. Once you get them all loosely in there, now is when you're going to make some final adjustments. And what I normally do is I just get them so where they're almost flush and push it this way towards the driver's side and go ahead and snug them up. Alright, so now you can go one of two ways. We've provided an actual optional step, which is installing this little brass insert into the radial bezel, which would be into this far left hole that we haven't used yet. You don't have to do this. We like to do it because it adds additional stability and really sucks this corner down into the bezel. In our current Tacoma, we don't have this screw in there. It's still super solid, but we give you this option for increased stability, and you know, it's really a great option if you want to go the step further. If you don't, you can go ahead and finish tightening up your screws, including the ones that go through, and there's through holes here. You can go ahead and tighten those up now and you'd be done. You can go ahead and mount your devices and hit the road, but we're going to go ahead and show you how to do this optional step, because people need to know how to do it, and it's really not that hard. It just takes a little extra time. Alright, so for the optional step, you've already got this in place where it needs to be, so you can mark your hole for this far left hole. So we're going to use this scribe, which is an awl, just a pointed object, and put it through into the hole, and we're going to scratch it into the plastic that is below this mount. looks like that, and we're going to go ahead and pull them out, back off, just the 3 countersunk screws only. Where your hole is marked, and we're going to drill this with a 7/32 drill bit. So what we're going to do now is we've marked a hole for the optional step. We're going to go ahead and pull the left and right inner support brackets back off because we have to remove the radio bezel to drill it, unless you have a really short drill bit or a 90-degree drill bit. Alright, got your hole marked bezel in hand, and we're going to go ahead and drill this spot for a brass insert. And you can take your brass insert, insert it into the hole, and what I use is a pair of pliers to squeeze it into place. There you go. You have your threads and your plastic now. And so the first thing you want to do before you reinstall this is you're going to want to put a screw in here so you can spread these little ears out for this insert, and just run it down so you know it's going to be easier when you go to install it permanently. And I just tighten it up a little bit and then back it out. And now we can take it back to the truck and reinstall everything. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall our bezel. And our inner support brackets. Remember, don't tighten them up all the way yet. We'll have to do some adjustments when you put everything in. And to install this inner one, because you have limited access, you're going to want to insert it through the hole first. And then using your screwdriver, you're going to want to start this one first while you have visual access. Once you know you have it started, don't tighten it up all the way yet. We can go ahead and install our other countersunk screws we previously removed. And we can go ahead and fully tighten everything up. Alright, so now that we've tightened everything up, you're good to go. Your outlet's already been tested. Inner screws are tightened, fully tightened. You're pretty much done. Just remember that these screws for your accessories are 10/32 machine thread for mounting accessories. You have these on the front and also 4 additional locations on top. Flush mount fast charger, and you're ready to go and dialed in.